like that.
If I'm gonna be a statue, I prefer this pose.
This is no time to be playing around.
Who said anything about playing?
Holy cannoli, it's been 6 months now? Okay, I guess I've been slacking a little on getting out my next installment on my One Piece journey, but all these other video ideas got the best of me. But hey, I'm back for part 2 on discussing One Piece as a newcomer, and this time we'll be talking about the Grand Line edition of the anime. Season 2, baby! Definitely a lot shorter than the previous hefty serving of Season 1, this time with only 16 episodes instead of 61. Yeah, basically just switch those numbers around then. Now, Season 1 was pretty much introducing the 5 main Straw Hat pirates on board, along with some unique side characters and villains along the way. And some of the arcs were pretty great. Barachi had a great setting taking place, Logetown showed more world building, my personal favorite Arlon Park was just magnificent storytelling. And yeah, there were a couple of hiccups down the road like Serb Village and Warship Island, which I guess not a lot of people consider this an arc, but I digress. So, with this short 16-episode season, what kind of wacky shenanigans are our Straw Hat Pirates going into this time? Let this noob tell you his experience with Season 2, entering the Grand Line. Well, wait a minute, Usopp's on the cover of this scene? Is he really that popular? What the
You're not making any sense, you crazy old fool!
Okay, so we left off with Luffy in the game finally entering the fabled Grand Line, something that they've been hyping up since East Blue, and I was dearly excited to see what was going to await us. And then...
What is it? It's a whale!
Okay, so the first 2 episodes of this season is a reverse mountain arc, and I gotta ask, you all don't count Warship Island as a complete arc, but consider this 2-episode filler as part of it? Seriously? Basically, there's this whale that's blocking the ship's way into the entrance, and now we spend 40 minutes in the whale's stomach. Yeah, let's just say I'm severely disappointed that this is how we're starting the Grand Line adventures, by getting swallowed by a huge whale. So there's a lot of dumb choices Luffy makes throughout the season, and this is definitely one of them. The Going Merry ship figurehead breaks, which causes an angry Luffy to punch the whale directly in the eye. Everybody, give a big round of applause for Luffy, everybody. Wow, our true unsung hero right here. It's funny this is called Reverse Mountain when the whole arc gets spent on the crew getting inside the whale, and a really bizarre whale in fact. This huge mammal's insides is like an abandoned house with doors and wooden floors and this really weird place in the middle where its supposed caretaker paints his stomach like an open island. Like, why? What was the purpose here? I mean, if it's supposed to be an illusion for supposed pirates to lose their minds while being swallowed, then it worked. But like, why is this caretaker inside the whale? Now I will admit, the only possible saving grace this arc had is probably the whale himself, Laboon. His story of waiting for a group of pirates to return to him and finding out that he will never see them again is pretty sad, which is why he starts committing self-harm and ramming his head on the mountain, leading to the huge scar. Then, Luffy being Luffy, decides to pick a fight with the whale. Oh my goodness, you've gotta be kidding me! Dumb Luffy strikes again! Luckily, Luffy decides to break off the fight, calling it a draw, and tells the whale that they'll meet up again to finish the fight, giving the whale some hope. Okay, so I'm gonna make a prediction here. They're never gonna see the whale again. I'm calling it. That's what's gonna happen. The whale is gonna wait for Luffy to come back, it never happens, and he starts ramming his head on the mountain again. Commenters, tell me if I'm wrong. Actually, no, don't do that. That may be spoiler territory there. Anyway, the crew leaves Reverse Mountain with a new log post to navigate the Grand Line and head to our next arc, Whiskey Peak. And now we're starting to get somewhere. So, I forgot to mention these 2 characters in the background here. These 2 are trying to capture Laboon the whale, but are now hostages to the Straw Hat Pirates until they get to their next destination. Little do they know, Whiskey Peak is actually their hometown, home to a bunch of bounty hunters who go by the name Baroque Works. Upon entering, the hunters disguise themselves as local townspeople to try to exhaust the pirates with drinking and dancing. All but Zoro and Nami are actually getting tired and eventually find out what Whiskey Peak is all about. One thing that I think is underrated when people talk about this arc is its atmosphere. The time zone being at night, these weird cactus looking islands with graves around them, the music and score here is a little unsettling and imitating at times. There's also a lot of plot twists in this arc too. You see, one of the passengers that the Straw Hat Pirates takes, this lady, Miss Wednesday, was actually a double agent, and really the princess of the Arabasta Kingdom. Therefore, the head of Baroque Works has sent out the higher-ups to come and eliminate her, which allows the Straw Hats to now protect her at any cost. The action scenes here are pretty great. The whole fight scene between Zoro and the millions of bounty hunters is peak Zoro here. And we get a few more characters with devil fruits, with Mr. 5 containing the bomb fruit, allowing to create explosions from any part of his body, and Ms. Valentine with the kilo fruit, which manipulates her body weight. Overall, a step up in the right direction. Also, a very mysterious person shows up on the ship with no reasoning whatsoever and offers some advice to the pirates. Now, I couldn't possibly tell who this person might be. I don't think she's going to impact the story at all that much. Probably just another side character being swept away in the future, but who knows?
More! Your tales of adventure.
Be glad to!
Idiots.
Now, while Whiskey Peak was definitely quite a nice little arc to get the story forward, the real meat and potatoes is the Little Garden arc, being 8 episodes long, pretty much filling out the second half of the season. Stopping at the island, the crew meet these two giants who face each other off in a battle, which they've been doing for 100 years now. Hey, that's dedication. Meanwhile, this new Baroque member, number 3, and his assistant, Ms. Golden Week, are after the bounties of the two giants, while also tracking down the pirates and capturing Vivi. So, with this being the main event for the second season, I'm gonna say I'm a little underwhelmed.
Uh-oh.
Not saying it's bad by any means, but there's a lot left to be desired. But before I even get to this arc in particular, how are our favorite Straw Hat Pirates evolving this time around? Have they gotten better over time? And we have a bunch of new characters to talk about too. So, let's talk about our main guy, Luffy. Yep, I'm still mixed on him. I think it's safe to say, aside from Zoro, Luffy has the best fight scenes imaginable, even if the show likes to slightly overpower him for no reason. But we barely get to see him in action this time around, only really facing off in Little Garden. So what does this season do for the Rubber Man? Make it more extremely stupid throughout these arcs.
What was that for?
I just wanted to hit him.
My goodness, there are so many dumb moments Luffy makes on occasion, and it just leaves me with a facepalm the whole time. I've already mentioned him trying to fight the whale Laboon, but that's just the tip of the iceberg here. During Whiskey Peak, when Zoro is fighting off the bounty hunters to protect Vivi, Luffy wakes up from his nap and immediately fights Zero because he knocked out most of the Baroque works thinking that they were innocent. Hey, Luffy, maybe if you just hear Zoro out and let him explain these are the bad guys, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. Although, this scene in particular is pretty cool. Then, we get to our mysterious lady over here offering her eternal pose compass to the crew, with Luffy immediately smashing it to pieces, claiming she's not the boss of them. Dude, that could have been very useful to your journey throughout the Grand Line. But I guess you think this woman is going to take over, replacing you as captain. And when we finally get to see Luffy in action, well, I'll say that later when we get back to Little Garden. Now, Zoro is pretty much Zoro. He's still my favorite character so far, and he's gotten some wicked scenes this season. That whole scene with him taking down all the bounty hunters in Whiskey Peak, easily destroying most of them without even breaking a sweat. But Zoro has a lot of funny moments as well. I think him and Sanji facing off to see who can catch the biggest prey on Little Garden is fun to watch, and Zoro's one-liners fit well with his personality.
If you want to die in a cool pose, Nami, you better hurry up.
I got other things to worry about.
Mr. Bushido, could you please take this a little more seriously?
Hey, your pose could use a little work too.
Nami also has her moments too, instantly finding out what the bounty hunters are up to, and almost becomes like an older sister to Newcomer Vivi. Usopp actually had the greatest improvement for me personally. Yeah, he still has that compulsive liar style to him, but he becomes a lot more brave in dire situations. His best moment is definitely in Little Garden, when up against some of the big dog hunters, using precise decision making and skill. Good job, Usopp, you're starting to grow on me.
Bro is the Michael Jordan of basketball.
Sanji, however, it's not that Sanji has done anything bad per se, but it definitely felt like they pushed him to the side this season. He and Usopp were the only ones sound asleep while the whole battle in Whiskey Peak was taking place, and he is almost completely absent from the whole Little Garden arc until the last episode. I still like him, but wish they did more of him. I kinda wanna see him fight more, you know, show off those incredible high kicks, cause you know, his delicate hands are made for cooking. Also, if you were wondering about previous minor characters, we do get a glimpse at what Kobe is doing with the Marines. It's quite nice seeing him actually training and bettering himself to become a full-fledged Marine. We also get some new characters this time around, probably the most prominent being Vivi, or should I say Miss Wednesday. It's funny, her introduction, along with this other useless fellow, Mr. 9, felt like just another villain of the week, with no real connection or standout moments to her. It's only until her reveal to be a freaking princess of a fallen kingdom is when she becomes interesting. laying undercover to be a false bounty hunter in order to know the leader's intentions of taking over her kingdom, and now being hunted by the organization. You finally see her changing and leaning more on the Straw Hats and getting along with them, after her cold shoulder towards them. I know she's not technically an honorary member of the Pirates, but she would definitely fit right in. In a crew full of men, another lady should balance things out. Our main baddies this time around are the Baroque Works members, especially Mr. 5, Miss Valentine, Mr. 3, and Miss Golden Week. They seem like very typical bad guys that don't seem to be a huge threat to our Straw Hats. I like Mr. 5's design and his devil fruit powers of exploding stuff out of his body, but not a huge fan of his partner Miss Valentine, since I don't think her power of creating more weight on herself is that sufficient in combat. Likewise, that switched with the other two partners, Mr. Free and Miss Golden Week. I think Golden Week is a perfect example of letting her actions doing the talking, as she's mostly quiet until when spoken. However, her skills as an artist makes her great in situations where she can change a person's personality through color. And then there's Mr. 3.
So good of you to come. I've been expecting you. Welcome to my Wax Manor.
Everything from his design, to his voice, to his plans, to his devil fruit powers is pure and utter trash.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9.
I'm sorry, but this man is number 3 on the rank scale of agents? Okay, well, what about his devil fruit powers? His whole gimmick is controlling candle wax to soften or harden the material. Okay, that sounds neat, I guess, and he sometimes puts it to good use. But then there's him trying to be a living wax person, which backfires on him, and probably the stupidest technique of all, this candle service set. This large wax cake arrangement used to trap individuals for a long amount of time turns them into wax statues with the burning candles and wax vapor surrounding their bodies. Keep in mind, this wax set takes up 3 episodes with Vivi, Zoro, and Nami slowly turning into wax statues. This is beyond levels of irritation for the viewer. I am dumbfounded. And that's kind of my main issue with the Little Garden arc as a whole. Half of this arc is being wasted by this dumb villain and his candle cake, and we have to wait until Luffy finally saves the day. Which, keep in mind, we get to Luffy's other stupid mistake. Remember how I said Miss Golden Week can transform people's personalities by her paintings and markings? Well, this idiot is the perfect guinea pig for it. He gets trapped in a red circle and refuses to help his friends, then gets his shirt painted on. I mean, God. Look, maybe I'm being too mean. This is all from the paintings from Miss Golden Week, and he literally can't control them. But I mean, he's just so gullible to not make that mistake again. Thank God Usopp was there to save him. While this whole plot does take too long, there are at least a few highlights here. I like the two giants that have their daily battle of toughness, and that they actually do care for each other. Case in point, when one cries about the other's defeat due to poison alcohol. Zoro and Sanji's rivalry is still top-notch with the dinosaur meat. And it's nice seeing Usopp actually managing to take on the agents himself for a change. But yeah, this arc has just kind of felt too long for me, that's just it. But hey, we finally get Sanji on board with the crew after answering a bizarre phone call with the head chief of Baroque Works. And oh, he's kicking the 2 annoying animals on the team. Yeah, baby!
That's what I've been waiting for!
So yeah, while it might not hit the same highs as Season 1, there's still a bit to enjoy here. Although, I gotta say, with this edition being called Entering the Grand Line, there was a lot to be desired and I felt a bit underwhelmed. Hopefully next season turns things back around. I heard a certain little deer is supposed to make an appearance, but hey, I guess anything is possible. And hey, if you enjoyed any of these arcs I just discussed, let me know in the comments. Tell me your experience going into One Piece for the first time. Maybe you've had the same reaction as me in certain parts. Until then, hope you stick around for part 3 of the series as we take on Winter Island and the introduction of Chopper. And I'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, the opening and closing themes slap.